That's how we own it.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Tamika D, Mallory.
And it's your boy, Mysonne, the General.
And we are your hosts of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
That's what I'm talking.
There you go.
You know?
What's
TMI,
happening?
TMI.
What's happening?
You know what? I was reading an article that says we're not supposed to sleep with our cell phones on the side of the bed. They say not even in the room.
Not even in the room.
But what I be trying to understand is why do they sell us stuff
that's gonna kill us?
That is, I mean, what is the problem?
But that's how I think that's the word.
No, but I mean, this article was saying some serious shit. It was saying basically the radiation from the 5G is like not humanly consumable. Like it's not good for you. You should not have it in your space overnight. Like it's already, and I guess it's true because now you're talking about 24 hours a day. You're dealing with the radiation from the towers and your phone. And they said, do not even have it next to your bed. They talked about also like the television, the rays, like how people sleep with the TV on overnight. I know I do sometimes.
Yeah, I can't sleep without it. I'm scared of the dark.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I'm scared of the dark. I've been scared since I was a kid. I don't play about, don't play about that.
TMI, the real con. There's too much information.
It's not.
But you know, I sleep. And I also, thankfully, I am not afraid of the dark. When I was a kid, I was so afraid of the dark, it wasn't funny. I used to wake up and swore that I saw things running across it just was, I had monsters in my room. It was bad. I was traumatized. In the projects, we had to put the aluminum foil, I've told this story before, over the light bulb so I could have a night light in my room. Like this is very, very serious and I had to get over that. So now I will at least, sometimes I turn TV off and I won't even have it on to fall asleep because I can do that. Anywho, the phone is a little different because when I wake up I wake up all night. That's a part of my anxiety. I'll look a little bit, send emails. But they're saying in this particular article that it's actually not healthy for you at all to have your phone in the room and definitely not next to you because you are basically consuming all this radioactive energy throughout the night. Now, people sleep with it in their bed.
Yeah. With
the whole phone, the charging cords, that's not good. That's not good.
I gotta get better.
And the extension cord because the thing don't run long enough. The anesthesiologist over there like, yep, all of the above.
Yeah, I need the stuff.
But that's really, this thing, all I know is that the rate that we are being diagnosed with cancer, these little articles, they hide it over here. It's behind a paywall. You might see one or two posts about it on socials. Meanwhile, this is information we really need to have.
Somebody needs to create, right? Like a little phone box, right? That you could put your phone in at night.
Probably have it.
And it blocks the radiation.
But how would your family members reach you if something is wrong?
But you block the radiation, you can hear it, but it blocks the radiation, so you only use it, take it out the box.
Well, I have a house phone, so I think maybe the house phone is the
radiation blocker.
All I'm saying is the rate to which we are being diagnosed with cancer, and people are saying, where are we getting all of this cancer from? Sure, the food is important. And they didn't specifically say that it's going to give you cancer. It basically implied and said that these are some of the things. And one of them is not being able to rest properly because it's like you have energy going all around you all the time. It's not healthy. So I was just reading that and it really brought me to my thought of the day. Because also, Painkillers is one of my favorite shows on Netflix. I watch Painkillers, I watch Dope Sick. I love these shows. And it's not that I love them, but I'm into it because of my personal experience with opioids. And as I was watching Painkillers for like the 5th time, I really honed in again on the Food and Drug Administration.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Well, actually, it's not.
I mean, it's a big
And that's what's scary.
Well, explain that.
Well, because it's not a 40,000 person department within the federal government. It's a smaller entity of people who have guidelines that they're pretty much checking off. I don't know why, I don't know why I thought that these people was in white coats. And there are people within the Food and Drug Administration that are actual doctors and all of that. So let me not scare people. But it's not as robust as I thought. I'm thinking that there is a lab and everything that they do, they gotta bring it or something. Like, what? And that is not the case.
It's not the case.
So you have to be really careful, really, really careful. We got a doctor coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
It pretty much goes to, I'll put it in the song. I was talking about Painkillers, the series. And I'm like,
oh, yeah, it is.
They pretty much make the drugs. You deal them. We do 100 years, and they pay a fine. The crazy thing is that when we look at the reality is the family who created the Oxycontin, which is one of the most addictive drugs in the world, that's killed probably about 1 million people.
No, I think it's more than that.
Because it was when they made it, they said it was at 500,000.
Yeah, no, of course they never.
So they never want to say that.
It's walking dead.
But it's a lot of people who have overdosed on Oxycontin, and they had to pay like a $400 million fine, but they billionaires. So they pay this fine, they go back, and they continue to make more money. And they ain't take Oxycontin off the market. People are still being prescribed Oxycontin. They know the addictiveness of it. They know the mortality rate of it. They know all of these things. But if Ray on the corner and he get caught with 10 to 12 pills, he's going to do 10 to 12 years. Maybe more. So it's just like, we have to just be open-minded. And that's why when you say you thought this was this robust thing, no, this is just another way.
An agency.
Yeah, it's an agency.
It's like any other agency.
Yeah, they get a check.
And because of that, they can be lobbied.
Exactly.
So I'm going to say lobbied.
Paid off.
I'm going to say lobbied. So, right, then that means that outside entities like the medical industry, they have actual power in the decisions that's being made. It's just like, yo, this is why I don't like to talk about this type of stuff. Because this is why people be like, I don't care about voting. I don't want to, because
it's a lot. Because who's going to vote when you know that they're playing around?
But you have to pay attention to these things, right? Like, when you elect a president or you elect certain types of people, congressional members and others, these are the things that because we're looking for police accountability, student debt relief, women's health issues. We looking for things. We don't always start reading the fine print of how people feel about certain agencies. So they might be talking about defunding certain agencies and making people responsible for figuring out what their concoctions for food and whatever are on your own. They could be or drugs. They could be saying that. I'm not saying they are people. I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying they could make those decisions. And because it's not something that comes top of mind, you don't even read that part of the campaign with materials or on the website for the president. You're not even looking at that. And we should actually know that the Food and Drug Administration is being fully funded and has the type of things that they need to be effective in their jobs. Anyway, I was in my thought of the day today is, the agencies, the federal agencies everybody needs a boss. The transportation industry,
not just a boss,
needs a boss. The airplane people, they just doing that, whatever.
No, this is what I'm trying to say. Only people that got bosses is poor people.
Oh, well,
that's it.
The transportation people are not poor. No, not the Deltas and the. I love Delta, by the way.
Nah.
Not the American.
The pilots, you crazy. You know how much money they make? They not for it. But I do what I want. I say what I want. I do what I want.
But it's really the ones that own the companies, Southwest.
But the thing is this: pretty much pilots are contractors, pretty much, because they don't even have any jurisdiction. The airlines don't have any jurisdiction over the pilots.
Well, they can fire them.
But
I think are the pilots unionized? Because I know that the employees like Delta employees are not unionized. So people like Tiffany Lofton are working to try to get them unionized now.
When we had a situation, they pretty much said there's nothing that we can do to the pilot.
Well, when the pilot, right, because the legislation is that the pilot is in charge on the plane. I mean, it's very technical, and that's the type of stuff. It's like, damn, we talk so much about who's sleeping with who and who's zooming what, and that type of stuff. We'll be knowing. I'm trying to get myself to learn them.
You will. Well, that brings me to my music segment. I just had one at first, but I'm going to introduce my song into this because of what we were just talking about. You know, we were talking about painkillers, and we talking about voting, we talking about all these things. And, you know, this new remix song that I have out right now to Jay-Z's, and it's the 25th anniversary of the song, Reasonable Doubt. Mm-hmm. And, their presidents. Okay. And it's the 25th anniversary of the song, Dear Presidents. Mm-hmm. And when I was listening to the song, it's one of my favorite songs that Jay ever made. And then I was just thinking about presidents, and he was like, I'm all for presidents to represent me. I was thinking about the selection. I'm thinking about all of this. You know, we got Gaza, we got Trump just talking crazy. And I'm just like, none of these people actually represent me. Like, there's nothing that they do or say that represents me as a Black man in America. So I remixed it under that premise. And I talked about a lot of different things in it. So I want y'all to listen to that song. It's my son's Dear Presidents remix called None of These Presidents Don't Represent Me. And also the second song is by 21 Savage. Man, I was listening to his album. I was working out to it yesterday. And it's this song called Letter to My Brother. You know what I'm saying? And
is it really brother?
Brother. B-R-U-D-D-A. Yeah. Letter to My Brother. And he was just talking about the realities that go on in street life. You know, like how you trying to make it out. You sometimes, he said a line that was crazy. He said, I got a good heart, it's just in the wrong place. Right? He said most of us just have good hearts, but they're in the wrong place and survive or be prey. You just trying to make it out. What's the use of making out when they just gonna cuff you? Like, and he was just talking about so many things that the average person, especially Black men in our community, experiences. You know, and it was like, wow, this is a song that had a lot of substance in it. So just wanted to highlight it, spotlight that. 21 Savage's Letter to My Brother. Go listen to that. And my songs, None of These Presidents Don't Represent Me.
It's still a dope track, and I hope that people will listen to it because I feel it. They don't represent me. I hate to say it because I don't want Donald Trump to be my president. I really don't. And I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm supporting Donald Trump.
At all.
But Joe Biden really disappointed me. And I'm not talking about the fact that I knew I wasn't going to agree with all his politics because we was definitely going to fight him. We knew that. We was getting ready.
He didn't disappoint me, actually.
But no, he disappointed me. He disappointed me with this Gaza situation.
Yeah,
definitely, I'm disappointed.
Never had any expectations from Joe Biden.
I had an expectation, not that he would not be a Zionist as he proclaims, but I had an expectation that when the people that as the people rise up the way that we have, that he would have.
Wait, stop. Okay, it's good.
I had an expectation that as the people have really, you know, the way that people are rising up, I had an expectation that he would step back and say, I cannot. I'm not even saying that he actually feels it or loves Palestinians or that he was doing it because I believe he was going to do the right thing. I'm saying that I thought that he would say, I can't even do this. Like they keep saying Trump is a threat, and then yet you acting like Trump. So I didn't, that for me, I'm disappointed in that. I thought they were more, that's what I was going to say. That's it. I got it, Mice. I got it. I thought that they were going to be more politically astute than they have been.
I didn't expect nothing.
Anything.
Nothing. But let's get into our guests.
I guess in our last few shows, I don't know if we even noticed it, but we've been talking about health a lot. So I think
health is important. Health is wealth.
I think health is becoming another. I mean, yeah, because I realize, especially with all this extra weight, that a lot of people act like they don't know. But I have a few friends, including my dear friend Peaches, that does not let me forget, because she will send me a picture of myself out somewhere in a minute and be like, "You see this? Circling the fat in my cheeks, my neck." And it's okay, because we do that for one another. It's not like she's trying to like disrespect me or anything or shame me, but she knows what I want to look like. And I realized that I didn't have to be in the situation that I'm in. The back fat, the this and that, all of these things happened to me because I thought that I could just I thought I was still 30. I don't know what I thought, but it's not. It doesn't. So,
I
health.
guess.
And what I realized is working out by itself is not enough. Like, you do have to actually take care of your inside. I never knew this whole theory of gut health. I never heard that before in my life. I knew your stomach, but then when I hear people talking about how much is happening in your gut, I'm like, wow, there's so many concepts that I can tell you right now. My family members that live in Alabama, North Carolina, wherever, we ain't talking about no gut health like at all. We did these things. It was, can you fry that good piece of pork chop and tear it up? Now, they don't live like that anymore because so many people have died from heart disease and whatever. And over time, people have become introduced to these things. But that wasn't the thing we was talking about today. So today we get an opportunity to talk to Dr. Robert Singleton II, who is an anesthesiology physician. And he also is very big on the internet talking about health. And I don't know if enough of us, like, I was talking to someone recently and they were like, oh, certain things never show up on my page. It's also what you follow, like, and what you're interested in. And when I came across the algorithm, when I came across Dr. Singleton, obviously we were introduced to him by Latoya Bond and our team, and they were like, hey, you got to check this guy out. It's some real robust discussion and rich discussion going on his social media about health in general. And I'm grateful that he's taken some time today, scrubs and all, to come on and be a guest on TMI to talk about our health and help us get straight on like what we pose to be doing to get healthy in our community.
Well, we pose to be doing. How you doing, doctor? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. And I'm glad that we're talking about health because it's so important. Like you said, there's so many different health conditions that affect us as Black people disproportionately. And so it's important that we have conversations like this to help ourselves, to help our communities.
Absolutely. Let me give a few points about how legendary you are in your own right. Oh, this is about to fall on the floor. Sorry. Okay. I don't know. You see it? Y'all see it? Okay. Let's give a few points here. So you are a board certified anesthesiologist in Chicago. You went to Howard University. We have Howard University nutcases that follow us, that they do not play about the HU, okay? But you are a medical school grad from Howard. And then also you're the ambassador for the Anesthesia Patient Safety Foundation. This is a very, very serious topic for me, and I'll tell you why in a second. And since completing your anesthesiology training in 2016, you've been committed to serving as an advocate for patients and their families, practicing evidence-based medicine and ensuring patient safety. And I'll tell you why this topic is so sensitive for me around anesthesiology. My mother in 2020, prior to 2020, March of 2020, she had been told she has an issue with her esophagus where it closes and she has to have it stretched maybe every 2 years or so. So this is something that we believe, or we pretty much know, that it became her new reality after working at right next door to the World Trade Center during 9/11. So my mom, she was there and the fumes and whatnot, and then her esophagus changed as a result of the pollution that so many people down there faced and what have you. She lived, thank God, but she did start to struggle with this thing. the last time that she was getting, before this 2020 incident, the last time she was getting her esophagus stretched, the doctor told her that they did not like the way that she responded to the anesthesia. They said that when it was time for her to wake up, she was having a major difficulty. They did not like the way she rebounded and they felt uncomfortable about it. However, with my mother, her situation is either you get the stretching or go into complete liquid diet, and even then she can choke and die. So she doesn't have a lot of options, right? So they did the surgery in March of 2020, and sure enough, my mother had a stroke and lost the ability on her left side. My mother was a dance instructor for a number of dance classes in her community. You could not beat her. Am I lying? On the dance floor.
She got viral videos and everything.
80 million people watching her videos of her line dance instructing and all of that. And now she's in a wheelchair. She moves around a lot better. You know, over time, things have gotten better, but she does not have the ability to do much with her left side. She needs 24-hour care. So anesthesia is a big topic of or a place of pain for us when we even start talking about it. And ironically, it is coming up on the time when she's beginning to choke again, because in 2020, once they did get through the surgery, now she's starting to have the same issues again. And here we go, having to try to figure out what to do. So just for the personal reference, this topic is, you know, you and what you do is very sensitive to me. But again, thank you so much for joining us. And we just want to hear, I'm sure, how you got into this in the first place.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to be a doctor. I just didn't know what type. I really liked surgery, but anesthesia is one of those fields that doesn't get a lot of exposure, or it's not as known as the other fields. Everybody knows about pediatricians and cardiologists, but anesthesia is a really behind the scenes type of medicine. And for most of the time, you don't really, you know, see or hear much about anesthesia, because for most of the procedures that we do, everything goes smoothly. But we do have those instances where there are emergencies, where there are traumas, where there are, incidences of cardiovascular collapse, difficulty breathing, where we have to step in. And those are very critical moments where every moment matters. We saw that a lot with COVID, and just even today, it's essential that patients have anesthesia doctors to make sure that their procedures are safe. And so I gravitated towards anesthesia. I've been doing this, practicing independently since 2016. Absolutely love it. I can't see myself. I could not see myself doing any other job.
That's amazing. I would like to know, like, being an anesthesiologist, being in the field of medicine, what do you think are the biggest things that affect Black people that you can think of?
Yeah, so we have, like I said earlier, a lot of unique diseases and a lot of issues that affect us disproportionately. One big one, and today's the last day of Heart Health Month, but one big one is, as far as cardiovascular disease, our people are between 30 and 54% more likely to die of a cardiovascular disease compared to our non-Hispanic white counterparts. We die of heart attacks more. We have higher rates of obesity, higher rates of diabetes. And there's a lot of different reasons for that, but it's important that we have conversations like this. We spread, reliable health information and take some steps to reverse that.
Tell me the connection, because, we can dispel the myth right now. You're an anesthesiologist. People are like, you just put the needle in the arm and knock me out. Like, what is your role, or how do you even know about all these other medical things? Because people would think that that's not your area.
Yeah, so that's a good question. We as anesthesia doctors are perioperative physicians. And so whenever a patient is before me, I have to make sure that they're optimized respiratory-wise, cardiovascular-wise, that all their organ systems are ready to undergo the stress of surgery and anesthesia. And so I have to manage diabetes. I have to tailor each anesthetic to each patient, because it is not a one size fits all thing. I design and tailor my anesthetic to each patient's need. And the biggest thing, if there's no surgery without anesthesia. And so it's essential that we're there to make sure that patients are still, that they don't have pain, and they can go through having a surgical procedure.
Mm-hmm. So I asked you about, what are the things that affect us? What do you think causes those things? Is our personal lifestyle choices? Is it that we're forced to eat certain foods? Like, what do you think are the biggest things that causes those situations that we have?
It's multifactorial. There's a lot of different things. Some of it is cultural, the kind of foods that we gravitate towards as a culture. A lot of us don't have health clubs in our neighborhood. We don't have neighborhoods that are safe enough for us to go on walks and jogs. Many of our people live in food deserts where you don't have access to whole foods or organic, healthy produce that's at a reasonable price. And so there's things that within our society are keeping us from being healthy, and also just lack of information that's keeping us from changing our habits in the way that we live.
Yeah, it's environmental racism is what we call it. And 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 food deserts are a real thing. When we first arrived in Louisville, Kentucky, where we were fighting for Breonna Taylor, we lived there for 3 months. During that time, we learned how the people were suffering. Like, one supermarket in the entire area where all these hundreds of thousands of people live, one supermarket did not, I went in there one time, the fruit was terrible. It wasn't even a good supermarket, right?
Yeah.
And so we found out that we had to start bringing fresh produce just to deliver to the community, to even have a conversation. And it's so important for people to understand that between our activism, your work as a doctor, it all connects, because you can't even have a conversation with somebody about fighting for Breonna Taylor while they're hungry. It's like, hey, I hear you. Terrible what happened to that sister.
Oh, yeah, I'm hungry.
But I'm hungry. And maybe after you feed me, then I can meet you on the battlefield. So I hear you, talking about, well, first of all, tell us the conditions. You said it's Heart Health Month, and I know that applies to all of us as Black people and other races. But what would you say are the top 2 issues, maybe there's more, for men and women that are avoidable? Like, things that, if we just don't do this, more than likely we will not have these issues.
Yeah, so there's 3 major issues. And I mean, like you said, there's a lot of issues that we could talk about, including high cholesterol but the big 3 would have to be obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Those are 3 issues that affect us as Black people more. And for the most part, they are somewhat reversible, treatable, preventable if we just do some common sense things to improve them and educate ourselves. The thing about high blood pressure is that it's a silent killer. You can't feel whenever you have high blood pressure. And a lot of people, especially if you're not getting your blood pressure checked regularly, if you're not going to the doctor regularly, you could have really, really high blood pressure and never know it. And the first time that you may be diagnosed with high blood pressure is whenever it's so high that now you have a stroke, now you have a heart attack, now you have a brain aneurysm. The second one, diabetes. A lot of us have diabetes that runs in our family. But actually, diabetes is a condition that it's preventable, it's treatable if we have the right medications. And having our diabetes under control can prevent cardiovascular disease. And then the last one, obesity. We talked about it a little bit earlier. There's issues with access to adequate food and exercise. But obesity is one of the big things that, people don't realize. The more weight you have, the harder your heart has to work to pump blood to all of those tissues throughout your body. And all that stress on the heart leads to elevated blood pressure, and heart disease. And we call a lot of medical conditions comorbid conditions. And so usually if you have obesity, it's very likely you have a lot of other conditions like sleep apnea, high cholesterol, and also your risk of cancer goes up with obesity. So I would say those three things are the big three whenever it comes to heart health, that if we could target those, we could get our numbers down.
So do you think, being a graduate of an HBCU, that it makes you focus on these things more, gives you more, insight into what's actually going on with Black people? Do you think it affects that?
I definitely do. Only about 5.7% of doctors in this country are Black. And it's been proven through many different studies that our people do better whenever we have physicians that look like us. You're more likely to take your medications. You're more likely to get age-appropriate screenings, to take health advice. If you are a patient of a doctor who you can trust, who you feel has your best interest, who understands, the words that you're using, who understands your family dynamic, your lifestyle. And so we need more Black doctors, and we need our Black doctors to be present in the community, and advocate. And that's one of the reasons why I became more vocal on social media, because, I said, man, I have this platform, I have this sphere of influence. Let me try to educate people, and try to get people to come on board with some of these issues and learn about their heart health, and ways of being more healthy.
We talked about diabetes, and now I have people who have diabetes saying they can't get their medication because the folks that have obesity issues are using the medication to lose weight. And that's the Ozempic piece. We actually were talking about that a little earlier in the show. So I want you to sort of speak to this Ozempic phenomenon. I recently learned that people have actually been using it for this reason for a longer time than we are now exposed to, but it wasn't as popular. Social media didn't know. So that is one thing. But then also with this COVID-19 environment and the dynamics of what we experience, where so many people were like, get your vitamins, your supplements, your CMOS, your, all the things, the good stuff, that a lot of time, the flax seeds, all the things that we were not necessarily using. Are you one of those that supports that? Because there are some doctors that's like, that stuff is no good. It's, that's not going to, you need vaccines, drugs directly from the doctors. Do you think there's a balance? Like, can you speak to those two issues, Ozempic and supplements and vitamins?
So Ozempic is a medication in a lot of diabetes medications, oral hypoglycemic agents. They have always had an off-label use of weight loss, a side effect of weight loss. And, if you noticed, a lot of these drugs, the drug commercials years ago, they mentioned that weight loss is a potential side effect. So we've known that off-label, these drugs can be used for weight loss, but it's just gotten that approval that now it can be used specifically for weight loss. And it is a phenomenon. People are using Ozempic and other weight loss drugs, other diabetes drugs, like crazy. And it is causing a problem where people who need it for diabetes don't have access to it. But as far as, is it good to take them or not just for weight loss? It really comes down to, or I think the most important thing is to look at a person's overall health picture, which is why these drugs should be prescribed by a physician. And so if you are somebody with severe heart disease, with sleep apnea, with diabetes, a lot of times by losing weight, you can, weight loss can cure diabetes. Weight loss can cure high blood pressure. And so these drugs are important. Weight loss is important to it prolonging your lifespan and making you healthier. So that's why it's important to have these medications prescribed by a physician.
But what if you're mixing that with, if you have thyroid disease or something like that, and you're taking Ozempic because you're trying to be cute?
That, that's why the most important thing, you have to have a physician, and they're going to look at your total health picture, look at all the medical conditions that you have, and they'll be able to decide whether it's safe for you to take Ozempic or not. There's some people, because of their health conditions, where it's not safe for them to take, and they should explore other weight loss drugs or even surgery for weight loss. So
Oh, surgery for weight loss.
So what about the supplements and all those things that she mentioned?
So I'm the biggest person who will say, if you don't need medications, it should not be the first line of treatment for anything. However, with a lot of these supplements that are out there, the flaxseed or sea moss, the problem with them is most of them are not regulated by the FDA. And so sometimes they'll put these claims on the bottle, and it'll say, oh, this will cure this, this will help with this. But those claims have not been investigated or upheld by the Food and Drug Administration. Whereas the medications that we have, a lot of times millions of dollars have been spent to study them, to make sure that they're safe. And for a lot of medications, we have extensive research comparing one drug to another. And so that is why a lot of physicians feel more comfortable prescribing medications than we do suggesting supplements. And so, we do have patients who are on supplements. It's important that you tell your doctor that you are on those supplements. I have seen cases where patients end up in trouble because they're taking supplements, they're not telling their doctor, and it's interfering with their prescribed medications. And so if you are taking supplements, it's important to tell your doctor.
Yeah, because they can have high protein, high this, high that, and then there's a reaction. Why? See, because I think of supplements, it's like, why do I have to tell anybody that I take supplements? But I guess I see.
Yeah, it's another form of kind of like a medication. So you don't want to, just be contradicting medications. If they're prescribing you something, you want to let them know what it is that you're actually taking.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what would be a reason why somebody would want to hide that they were taking a supplement? Because Black people we just know, don't tell everything to anybody, right?
There's a lot of reasons. I don't think it's so much hiding. I think people just don't think it's important. You might not consider it to be
That's what I would say.
medication. If you're taking, some vitamins, you might not think, oh, I should tell my doctor I'm taking vitamin E or whatever, or ginseng. But especially in the context of surgery, a lot of vitamins and supplements can increase your risk of bleeding. And so we need to know, and we specifically asked, but we need to know, what are you taking, both prescription-wise, over-the-counter, and supplement-wise?
Do you do anesthesia for plastic surgeons? Are you in those rooms as well?
Yes. And so I've worked with a lot of plastic surgeons, mommy makeovers, breast augmentation.
Yeah.
All the fun stuff.
That's why I need on my back.
So you become this internet phenomenon. Do you get any hate on the internet? Do people tell you to shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, or is it more love?
You know what? Most of it is love. I will say that most of it is love. There are some topics that are very controversial. The first topic that really got me on social media was COVID. And man, as soon as you mention COVID, as soon as you bring it up, you're going to get people who are going to be very
defensive.
It's very polarizing. Are vaccines good? Are they bad? And so COVID is probably the one topic where I'll get the most hate, but overall it's mostly love.
So let's close this out here, but I want to just frame this. We were talking about it earlier, and now I want to bring you into this discussion. We were talking about this show, Painkillers. A documentary?
It's a show based on a true story.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Dope Sick is the same. Have you seen either one of these?
I haven't seen it. No.
So you say you should watch, because you mentioned the Food and Drug Administration, and what I thought, these are based on true stories. Both of these shows, Hulu has,
but it's based on the same. It's based on the same
story. The family,
it's based on the person who created OxyContin.
Right. There you go. I forget their name, but it's there's a name for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot, I shouldn't say I forget their name because I will know their name. So forget it. You said OxyContin. Say it again. Just say.
They created OxyContin.
Yeah, the family that created OxyContin. So as you're going through this film, in my mind, prior to turning it on, I thought the Food and Drug Administration was 2, 3, 4, 5 big buildings in Washington, D.C. with hundreds of thousands of people running things and doing things. And you know what I'm saying? Like a major operation. And what we find out in these shows is that it actually is a few people at a desk on one floor in one building that's not even a building that's just for that particular purpose. I'm seeing chemists. I'm seeing
You just think
drug administration. I'm seeing major operation. And what we actually find out is that there are people who have guidelines in front of them, right? And I believe they're intelligent and very knowledgeable, but they have guidelines in front of them. And so when your product comes up, they're basically checking boxes, looking at it, making sure it matches up with whatever the new laws and all of those things, and then they make determinations on whether or not you pass. Now, this opioid family, these people of this particular product, OxyContin, they denied them many, 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 many times because they wanted to take their product from it being near death, in palatable care, right?
Yeah.
They wanted to take it from that to being used for more things and being more accessible to people. And the FDA consistently denied. Then in the movie, because I went to check to see if this is true, eventually there was a meeting, something happened with the man from the FDA, which happens in all industries. Next thing you know, it was approved. And then after a short period of time, the man quit his job at the FDA and went to go work for the company. Wow. So when you say, you should really check it out. I mean, this blew my mind. Because I would think that that's illegal somewhere. But then again, as the show goes on, if this show continues, you find out about how many other people have left. They might have been working for this law firm over here, working for the government, and then they go into private practice. That's actually not illegal. Many times we go into elected positions and into public office, and when your time is up there, you want to go to private practice in some of these areas. So it's actually not illegal. But that makes me question and wonder when we start talking about the FDA. And I do want to look and see FDA on my label. But am I really trusting and believing that what they're saying is right? Because how deep is their love?
Yeah. And I mean, it's so unfortunate that we even have to have this conversation. I think that especially within the past 4 or 5 years, we've had this discussion more and more. But there's no branch of government that's immune from corruption. There's corruption in all walks of life, unfortunately. And that's just another reason why it's important to have, whenever you're making decisions about your health, why it's important to have a doctor who you trust, who has cultural competency, who can kind of help you, navigate that, tell you their own personal experience, with those drugs, tell you about the patients that they have, and use their experience and expertise to help guide you and help you decide, should I take this drug or that drug?
Yeah, that's the big takeaway.
It really is. And it's called the Sackler. They're the Sackler family.
The Sackler family.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So, well, basically, we just want to say thank you for coming here. And I like the representation, man. Seeing a Black man, being in medicine and being knowledgeable, it maybe to start inspiring. We don't see a lot of us in these spaces. And when you say it's only 5% of us in the space, that's crazy to me, when we should be definitely present in spaces where things affect us, way worse than it affects everybody else. So we definitely need to be in there. And I appreciate you for your representation and the actual work that you're doing. You know, continue on being great, black man. You are
legendary.
Legendary.
It's been all about legends for the last
legends, man. Legends.
You certainly are one.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Singleton. We appreciate you for joining us. Thank you. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Did we leave out anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that was pretty much it. Yeah, we hit all the high points.
Yeah, good. We need to have you back again so we could debate some issues.
Yeah, when we got some new stuff, we're gonna come
debate COVID, because he was one of them people that you talking about. I had to keep him off the internet. One time I had to say, listen, we're gonna shut his page down and don't let him talk anymore, because he was on there talking about take your supplements, work out, your health.
That's right. And I still think that.
Yeah, but COVID is a thing.
I mean, it's a thing, but I think that all right, forget it. You're right.
Well, what we have come to agree on is that yes, COVID was pretty, it was a serious situation, but what really killed people was incompetency within the medical industry and how people didn't know, right? So then they just gave you shit what you didn't need to take and put you on what was that thing called that killed
the respirator? The respirator was killed. No, it wasn't the respirator. It was the
It was the respirator.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they put his friend was making it, he was
they did it to like 3 people I know.
Yeah, and they put him on a respirator and then he died. So
yeah, I mean, all of us were learning. COVID was something that just overwhelmed us. You had entire units of nurses and doctors who got it themselves and who couldn't help their patients, and that was a crazy time that I hope we never have to relive again.
I know that's right. Well, God bless you. Thank you for your work.
Appreciate you.
I don't know. Anyway, I was going to say maybe I shouldn't talk about it, but, it is something that actually happened to me, and it was actually pretty traumatizing. So, during the Women's March, obviously the controversy that we faced was very, very significant. And I was being called anti-Semitic, which, people were saying I hate Jewish people. I didn't even understand. Like, I was so not knowledgeable about certain things that we say, biases that we have. Like, I didn't even know. I was so focused on addressing Black people's issues that I never even taken the time to learn these things. And I had to learn by hellfire, basically, because I was like, what? Like, I knew what anti-Semitism meant, but it really wasn't a term that was in my regular talking points every day to have those accusations against me. And it was very, very harmful. Of course, we were going to schools, going places, my speaking engagements getting canceled. You know the story. Everybody who's listening, most people are aware of what I suffered and the because of those accusations against me. And so I had a doctor at the time, and she was a white woman who I never took the time to figure out whether she was Jewish, but I eventually began to feel something from her. Like, as I continued to see her during this time, especially because the anxiety that I was experiencing was so severe that I was going back and forth meeting with her. She was real cool. We actually sit around and talk for a little while after the appointment. She became very short. She wasn't really interested, and you could tell that her personality towards me changed. And so I eventually, I obviously, we're smart enough to know to stop immediately having her to be my doctor. And later on, there was some things that was written in my personal file. Things that, yes, I do understand when you're talking to your doctor, they're going to write notes. But it was the way in which the notes were written. I could see the difference from where we started to where we ended up then. And there's some people who would say, well, why would you even make the assumption that just because she was possibly, and by the way, she was a white woman anyway. So regardless of whether she was actually Jewish or not, she was a white woman.
And at that time, there was so much hate against us from all different types of people, especially white people. And then you add the layer of whether they knew it was true or not, just the mere fact that I was being called this hateful leader and, you know, I'm anti-Semitic or whatever. It really scared me that I was in the care of a person who could have really been hateful towards me because of what the media was saying. And, you know, so therefore, I realized that I need to have my own people monitor and manage my health. I'd rather bet on my own people, because at any given time, if you upset somebody maybe from any community, not saying black people also, but I'm pretty cool with black folks for the most part. But I realized that I need my care to be in the hands of people who look like me, you know, because you put in your hands in someone's life and you have no idea what they're behind, like what's going on back here.
Yeah, and it's also that, you know, there's shared experience. There's a shared experience of this life in general, that people are able to identify with and connect through. You know, so I don't have any issues with people who don't feel the same way. It's just like like when people got mad when what's her name, when she said I'm with everybody black, like people want to see, you just want to see people from your culture win. Yeah, you know, just based off misinformation, right? Like you're saying that you had a doctor that you were cool with, that you felt confident in, that you had, you know,
I loved her.
You actually loved her, and this was somebody that you trusted. Cool. Yeah, it was all these things. And just based off something in the media, false information that people put out into the media, it changed the whole reality and her perception of you. And I just think we're at a time where people are just so lazy, and I don't get it. People are so lazy that they take anything that's put in the media or social media at face value, right? They don't do any research. They don't do any due diligence. They don't consider the individual. There are people that we know every day of our lives that will look at something that's put on social media and take it at face value. Sure, there are things, should you pay attention, right? Like Denzel said, one of the realest things. He said, if you don't listen to it,
it's to the media.
If you don't listen to the media, then you're uninformed. But if you do listen to it, then you're misinformed. Literally just talking about, you know, something that happened with Tory Lanez and his lawyer putting out this new appeal. And cool. But about over 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a guy in it who I'm not even going to say his name because he's one of the biggest misinformation people in the world, that was saying that there was a videotape that was supposed to come out, and the videotape was from an Asian woman, and she had taped the whole situation, and she had saw it, and she was following them from the whole thing, and it was going to come up in the appeal. And this is a lie, right? And he called out people, threatened people, all types of stuff. And this was a complete lie. There was no basis for it. But there were so many people online that was coming at people saying, look, this and that, and this information. And it's just so dangerous, and it's so terrible to me. And I just want people to just start using common sense. Like, I want us to start using common sense. The internet and the media and social media cannot completely control your mind to where you don't even use your own common sense, and you don't do any type of due diligence to even research to see, is this remotely true? Is there 5 or 6 because if there's a level of remote trueness to it, then you might be able to find it on 5 or 6 or 7 different respectable places.
It's no such thing. I don't agree with you.
You don't?
No.
So what do you think?
Because I don't agree. I agree with you that misinformation is a problem. I think people, when they turn their phone on, unless they really pretty much trust who they're talking to, that's like on this show, and there are many other shows. Think about Teslin. You think about, a number of people. You listen to Amanda Seals. You're listening to the Native Pod with Angela Rye, Tiffany Cross, and what's our brother's name? Andrew Gillum. And there's a Joy-Ann Reid. There's so many. And even Joy, while she is on her show, attempting to be the most authentic and having the most integrity possible, she's still on a network that if you flip to the next show or to a few others, they lie like hell, right? And so I think knowing your person that you're getting information from, and kind of you haven't really found them to be a person that lacks integrity for, you know, or forget about integrity, because that's a whole nother, let me take that away. If you haven't found them to be someone that misinforms or misreports information, then you could kind of listen to them and whatever. But there's not that many credible places. We know the New York Times was exposed for having a writer writing about issues or things that happened on October 7th to Israelis that was not true. Because if you go right now and Google rapes or you Google children being beheaded, even though not only has the Israeli government and the American government had to say, hey, we actually, you know, not only has the American government had to say after President Biden said he saw something that he did not see. Now, they tried to say he didn't mean it that way, whatever. He still said he saw pictures of babies beheaded. And then the Israeli government had to say, you know what, actually, there's no evidence of such, right? So we know that. We know that. But if you go right now and you Google, the shit's still all over the place. People still say, black folks, brown folks, other people, they still saying it in their talking points. So I don't know that there are many credible places. The way I look at it is when I turn my phone on and I read, it's entertainment. That's what, unless it's somebody who I truly believe and trust, it's entertainment.
But my thing is,
people's lives are being destroyed.
That's what I'm saying. You can't entertain at the expense of somebody else's life.
Well,
I'm not entertained.
But there's no accountability mechanism unless you sue people, you know, or whatever. And it's very expensive to go to court and go through all of that. And, you know, I'm a person who has many friends that are lawyers, and they all are prepared at any time to go to bat for me and for you, right? But there are a lot of people that don't have that. Some people that even have the lawyers, and by the time you get to a certain level, lawyers are bleeding you dry, right? Hourly, they're bleeding you dry. So not everybody has the ability to go out there. And the other thing is, if a little bit of what this person is saying is true about you, then how do you go and fight the rest of it? It becomes so murky. So what I'm saying about entertainment is that I don't look at this thing and say, unless I'm, you know, again, unless it's somebody I trust, unless it's a video of something that's really moving to me, or unless I have the opportunity to speak to the lawyers, the family, the people involved, I look at it and I just keep scrolling. I see it. Okay, you put it in the bank. You heard it. You might hear it again.
Can't play with people's names. You can't play with people's lives. And that's it to me. And that's another episode down in the books. TMI. We appreciate y'all, man. Keep supporting us. Make sure you go to the TMI page. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Anybody you want us to interview. Keep supporting us. Make us number one again, like you made Street Politics.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Please. Please.
Number one. Number one podcast in the world. We're going to do it again.
We are growing.
We are number one.
We are growing.
You see that there?
But I do not want people to think that because he says number one, that you don't have to help us truly.
No, that's why you got to help us stay number one. You got to go get your brother, your sister, your cousin, and tell them to tune into TMI. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika's not going to always be wrong. But we'll both always, and I mean always, be authentic. That's how we own it. That's how we own it. That's how we own it. Oh, that's how we own it. Check out the video version of TMI
every single Wednesday on iWoman.tv.
That's how we